We begin our service with our familiar call to worship, words used in fellowship with Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist communities across the world. Love is the doctrine of this chapel. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, in the hope that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. Today we'll be considering how to fill our inner wellspring. How do we replenish and restore our creative and spiritual reserves when they have become depleted by work, by loss, or other challenges? Now let us light our chalice flame, the symbol of our liberal religious faith. If you have a candle at home, you may wish to light it now, or simply take some moments to pause and reflect on the light in your mind's eye. May this flame be as the light of knowledge in our minds and the warmth of love in our hearts. And now for today's hymn. You can sit back and enjoy the music, but if you'd like to sing along, you'll find the words in this week's update email. It's the traditional Shaker song, True Simplicity. Our reading today is taken from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. In it, a great leader is about to depart and his followers gather around him for a final chance to learn from his wisdom. And the man said, "Speak to us of self-knowledge." And he answered, saying, "Your hearts know in silence the secrets of the days and the nights. but your ears thirst for the sound of your heart's knowledge. You would know in words that which you have always known in thought. You would touch with your fingers the naked body of your dreams. And it is well you should. The hidden wellspring of your soul must needs rise and run murmuring to the sea. And the treasure of your infinite depths would be revealed to your eyes. But let there be no scales to weigh your unknown treasure. And seek not the depths of your knowledge with staff or sounding line. For self is a sea boundless and measureless. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of the soul, but say rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like a reed. The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless petals. For our time of prayer, I offer a modern reworking of an ancient psalm, used with permission by the author, Carla Groschmiller. So let us now gather in stillness and contemplation for Psalm 46, Redux. Sheltering God, I hide myself in you. Head swathed and bowed, I listen for the still, small voice. Strengthening God, in times of tumult and terror, as the earth moves and the horizon shifts, you call me back to shelter and to strengthen. Your song is in the sighing of the trees. Your light is in flicker and spark, knowing and unknowing. Your power is in the greening and in its passing. Those with ears to hear, listen. Those with eyes to see, look. War and peace, trembling and tenderness, all that we create and all that we destroy, hold a holiness we do not understand. Illumine our being, that our doing might manifest you. As we listen to some music for reflection, you may like to reflect on the joys and concerns that you hold in your heart in fellowship with all who gather here now. The hidden wellspring of your soul must needs rise and run murmuring to the sea, and the treasure of your infinite depths would be revealed to your eyes. These words, written by the Lebanese Christian mystic Khalil Gibran back in the 1920s, describe life's infinite creative processes. And we know, don't we, that we all have treasures to draw out into the world, gifts to bring to life. But there are times when the well runs dry, when we feel we have nothing left to offer, nothing left to give. And when that happens, we need to find ways to renew and restore our creative and spiritual reservoirs. I think many of us have been feeling our well springs running a little dry through these challenging times in which we find ourselves. Some of you know that for several years now, I've helped groups of people come together to study a creativity book called The Artist's Way. For 12 weeks, participants work through creative tasks and activities to rediscover their artistic self. I've noticed that interest in these groups peaks in September and January. both times of year when we think about starting something new. Even if we aren't school children anymore, the beginning of the academic year marks a time when people consider starting a new class or course. Many plans have changed this year, of course, but it still seems like the right time to think of renewal and moving forward. Julia Cameron, the author of The Artist's Way, describes how our stocks can become depleted if we have used a lot of energy to create an artistic work. She writes, "Art is an image-using system. In order to create, we draw from our inner well. This inner well, an artistic reservoir, is ideally like a well-stocked trout pond. If we don't give some attention to upkeep, our well is apt to become depleted, stagnant, or blocked. When we work at our art, we dip into the well of our experience and scoop out images. Because we do this, we need to learn how to put images back. This process of replenishing, she calls filling the well. And I think that even if we don't regard ourselves as artists, this applies to our spiritual selves too. If we have given of ourselves to difficult work of any kind, we need to refill the well. If we have encountered challenging relationships or suffered losses that have left us feeling wrung out and alone, we need to fill that well. Our ability to face whatever the future holds may well depend on it. So how do we restock the trout pond, as Cameron puts it? Filling the well for an artist means replenishing the stock of inspiring images, but that doesn't just mean trips to art galleries or enrolling in classes. Cameron revels in the everyday details and encourages us to pay conscious attention, for who knows what tiny quirk or mundane experience might inspire your next idea, your next step, even your next work of art. Lately, I've been nourished by the work of the artist and environmentalist Andy Goldsworthy, who creates sculptures and installations using objects found in nature. His stunning creations, for example, autumn leaves, laid out in radiating circles on a pond. These stunning creations manage to take nature and make it even more beautiful through artful arrangement. And I find it truly inspiring. Many of the pieces have been deliberately created to decay, or at least to be impermanent. His work reflects the transience he finds in nature, and he says, "Art has this amazing ability to show you what's there. You're not just this observer. I'm a participant, and things are being continuously revealed through what I make, and that's ultimately the reason why I do it." In our reading, the prophet describes how the soul unfolds itself, like a lotus of countless petals. The lotus, another image from nature, symbolizing enlightenment in Buddhist thought. I imagine this image as a kind of film loop, which could also be an art installation in itself, the continuous revealing and unfolding of self-knowledge, which never quite reaches the end. Say not, "I have found the truth," counsels the prophet, but rather, "I have found a truth." In our exploration of ourselves and our world, this is perhaps as much as we can hope for. It reminds me of our own Unitarian message, that we inhabit a world of many truths and many paths that may lead to truth. So how do we restore and renew our spiritual wells so that we can continue along the path of enlightenment? This does, of course, depend on where we find ourselves and how we got there. The past few months have been a difficult time for many, but this experience has affected us in different ways. For some, while some are feeling exhausted by extra pressures, others have been left lonely and isolated. Yet others have been able to use the time of enforced slowdown to press pause and reassess their previous way of living. So while there is no one right way to find the spiritual nourishment that you need, a starting point might be to find a balance, to balance the familiar with the novel. It can be comforting to return to familiar pursuits, to rediscover something that you used to love. But is there a way to find a different perspective, to pivot from the familiar to something new that might become even more rejuvenating? I have been blessed with a few experiences this week which have been very inspiring. Picture the scene. On Hampstead Heath, a young woman with a guitar sitting on a giant felled tree trunk and singing with her whole body. Her boyfriend, who was dancing slightly awkwardly on the branch next to her, seemed rejuvenated by her music. Later, during some brief moments of meditation, I stared out of the window at the lush green ferns which grow in pots outside my study, imagining different arrangements of the leaves, Goldsworthy style. And then there was a choir. Not having met in person for months, they gathered in a car park to work out how to sing together and apart while wearing face masks and visors. It was a taste of the familiar seen in a new way to meet the challenges of our times, which I found surprisingly comforting. And it probably helped that I was watching my husband doing something that he loves too. All of these images serve to fill my creative well and restore my sense of joy in the world. In the process of refilling the well, if you are feeling tender, perhaps stay with things which you find comforting. But if you are feeling braver, reach out to touch something a little beyond your understanding. All that we create and all that we destroy hold a holiness we do not understand. Illumine our being, that our doing might manifest you, writes Carla Grolsch-Miller, whose version of Psalm 46 we heard earlier on. So let us go out and fill that well with whatever we need to renew ourselves so that we are able to serve the world and celebrate that which we regard as divine. As the theologian Howard Thurman remarked, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go and do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. May it be so. And now words for our closing blessing. May we find ways to renew connections with past joys and be inspired by new experiences. And through practicing our gifts with loving kindness, may we become a blessing to the world. Amen.